So what is dislabeled? All right, it's throughout life we get labeled one thing or another. These labels range anywhere from what people call us, like, oh, he's a good father, he's a bad father. She's a narcissist, he's an empath. It's the way that others navigate us, right? So the label many times gets attached. We grow an identity around this label. We don't even know it's happening for the most part. It becomes dangerous once you start identifying as the label. Specifically, if you have a neurodivergent mind. And neurodivergent, this term is fairly new. I'm not even sure if it's fully DSM certified yet, but it's the spectrum of neurodivergencies. They're OCD, autism, ADHD, Tourette's, PTSD. There's a wide range of it. So they're saying that somebody who has PTSD, their label will get them assistance. Their label will get them their medication, whatnot. But there's no way, really, for doctors to test to see if you have any overlapping symptoms. You may have OCD. The PTSD may have caused some ADHD-like symptoms. And in a lot of cases that I'm seeing is the autism. There's slight traits of autism, and many times OCD is mistaken. It's autism is mistaken for OCD. Yeah, I had to change that one around because of the dyslexia. Good example. Anyway, that's a neurodivergent. Okay, so that the journey that I had was to dislabel myself, is to look at all of these labels that other people say I am, and the ones that I think I am. The good dad, right? I always had to be a good dad. I always had to be a good husband. I always had to be the people pleaser. I had to make everybody comfortable. Yeah, the mama's boy, the good one. These are all labels, right? Those create your identity, your personality, who you are, who you think you are. They're not so bad, but it's when other people start gossiping and forming different opinions of you. And this becomes almost like a poison, where it will infect the minds of those who don't know you. So you have these invisible labels out there that you're surrounded by, that people still navigate you. Those are much more subtle, much more deadly, specifically to self-worth. So in yoga, I guess you could say that becoming dislabeled is very much like jnana yoga, the path of introspection, to always be aware of how your body reacts to everything, to sensory stimulation, to others, in conversation. When you get angry, where does the trigger come from? Find it, seek it. So that was my journey. Originally, it was these labels had weighed me down, and I became this person that I thought I could keep up, that I could always just be, right? And this is the classic midlife crisis, when all these labels, all these little identities, all these expectations and conditions create something that you're not. And biology has a way of winning. There's so many other intelligences in our body besides the one we think with, and they have control, and they will control, and they do many times. So if you're stuck in your habits of who you think you are. You're not happy. You're doing everything right though, everything. You're following the plan. You're following what your father did, your mother did, what society tells you to do. But you're wearing that jacket made of labels. And it's weighing you down. It weighed me down to the point of not being able to do what I've always done. My body started breaking down on me, my hands. Oh, who gets arthritis, right? Especially in their 40s. Even though I was in great shape, I just couldn't keep up. And our relationship wasn't ready for me to retire yet. We had just started a company. And these labels have weighed me down. My wife saw these labels as failing and disappearing, and soon I was not the person she thought I was anymore. And that's when it got bad, because I didn't know who I was anymore. And that person, the old Joel, the AC guru, the great father, the nice husband, the good boy. I was watching those characters die slowly until they finally said, I want out. There were some characters that just were so depressed in my head that said, we gotta end it. And I'm not talking about it in a schizophrenic way. I'm talking about that state of depression which you are not. When you come out of that depression, which I did, you look back and you see how you got there. And you're just blown away that you could possibly be that person. So, even though I wrote a book about it, it still chokes me up. I was lucky. My label saved me. I got back on my medication because I got off of it for a while because it was messing with my emotions. Something they don't tell you. Usually when they give you medication, they don't tell you the what ifs that could happen. And one of the symptoms of many neurodivergent minds is emotional dysregulation, as you just witnessed. The inability to control your emotions when the emotions occur. And when you're on these medications many times, you will get amplified symptoms. And you will have other symptoms pop up that you were unaware of. And that was many, many surprises. And some of those caused some problems in the relationship. It was pretty bad. We were fighting a lot because I was a different person. And this new person had to rebuild, and it was aggressive, and it was like, I'm not going to be that depressed person anymore. I'm going to do this. I'm going to show everybody. I'm going to show the world. I wanted to shout it from the rooftops that when you use your label correctly, it could save your life. When I was put on the medication, there were no more intrusive thoughts. They were replaced by thought loops, catastrophizations, thoughts of how things are going to be if I got a divorce, if I lost my wife and my house, and I can't do my job anymore. It was a different kind of feeling for me. I'm not used to anxiety, and that was definitely some major anxiety, so I had that to play with. But it was good for introspection. because it kept all of my emotions in the forefront. Yeah. That way I could journal each trigger, each emotion, write them down. And one day, after multiple text battles with my wife, I was triggered by something she said. I don't remember what it was. I don't even have it in the book because it was insignificant compared to what happened afterwards. I was sitting there texting. Like, why would she say that? Hey, what did she mean by that? You know, just over and over and over. And it was like 5 paragraphs long, just this rant. And before I hit send, something told me to just wait, put it down. I put my hands on the steering wheel because I had to pull over. I was that pissed. And I just calmed down. I closed my eyes and I sat there and I hear the thought, not hear it. I feel the thought over and over and over and over and over. I don't know how many times it looped in the 18 minutes that I sat there, but it did get quieter. And then at that 18-minute mark, I felt a jolt, just like you fell asleep at the steering wheel. There was a shift. And instantly I tried to remember where'd that thought go? Why am I not mad anymore? I don't even remember why I was mad. I forgot what started it in the first place. And I picked up my phone, I looked at the text. What? I almost sent that. And right there I got, if I would have sent that, I would have had to create another identity to own that rant. My life could have changed. Maybe it wouldn't have. I would have eventually learned this lesson, hopefully. Probably. But witnessing that shift got me very curious, and we had been going to some counseling, some therapy, and my therapist just so happened to be a very big fan of neuroscience. And I brought this to her. I said, this happened. What happened? Oh, well, your mind shifted from limbic logic to prefrontal cortex logic, your executive function, your the areas of the ADHD mind that is smaller than the rest. That's the compromised area. That's the divergent part of the brain. That's why we have a dopamine issue, because that's where dopamine comes from. Anyway, you'll figure that out later. And all of a sudden I said, that's a thing. The brain is mechanical. I'm a mechanical engineer for the most part, in HVAC, residential, my whole life, whatever. I understand machines like you don't even know. It's almost painful. But at that moment I got that there's a mechanism to our biology, to the way that our mind works. And every time afterwards I did that technique, I had that same shift over and over and over. And that's when I started journaling. I would journal the trigger, what set me off. And then I would go home and I would do the meditation at home. But I wasn't mad anymore, right? So I never did experience the shift. The trigger of anger got farther and farther away. I was able to witness it in the moment instead of after it happened. That's one of the nice benefits of meditation. It gives you that little bit of space between what happens and how you react to it, the meaning that is created automatically. So I get home and I start a meditation where I'm either running that scenario. What if I texted her back? How would have that worked? And then try to go off into that, because that's a meditation, believe it or not. It's in the book later, much later. It's one of those instinctual things that we do, we didn't know about. It's kind of one of those brain hacks. And so I would just, how do I explain this? Eventually, instead of thinking about how the text would go, I actually replaced the text with an archetype or a a character of my wife, and we would have these conversations in my head in meditation. And that solved so many problems, so many. Just like that first time when I didn't text her and I saw what I was going to text, and I saw that this could take a whole different path. I would have to own whatever I said. I would have to identify with that. And she would have to then identify with this, where the hell is this coming from, right? Just makes me look even more unstable to her. Anyway, I think you get the gist of the title, Becoming Dislabeled. There's some labels you want to keep, but eventually you're going to dislabel them all of them. That's the whole point, is to get to the point of having no more labels stuck to you anymore. Other people are going to put them on you. They always will. Always will. That's how they navigate you. I mean, even Joel is a label. The name. It's like a name brand. No, it's not. So it's, when you get to this point, the freedom is amazing. Sorry, went off into La La Land for a second. So, in this book, I describe the entire process. The way that the book is written is, I've never written a book, ever. I've never taken any kind of writing classes, creative writing classes, anything like it. I did not like English. Because of my ADHD, I had an issue with reading books, reading novels, anything that didn't have pictures or something in it that would, it would give me a reference point, right? Even if the paragraphs were spaced out far enough apart, I would see that there was 3 paragraphs on a page, and then I would read one, almost like a race. It's like, okay, soon I gotta get to this point, because I know my attention span is gonna go, it's gonna go. And then it usually does. So then if I forget what I read, it's not like I have to reread the entire paragraph. I wrote the book this way. I wrote it the way that I would like books to be written. To be honest, I'd read a lot more books. I would have. I'm a much better reader now, obviously. Editing your own life is, whew, it's a trauma all its own. And also know, I'm not a psychologist. I wasn't even religious, spiritual, or anything before my depression. I was a video game nerd. I was addicted to video games for years and years and years. So I have no training whatsoever except for life experience. What I went through, what I put myself through, what I put my wife through, what my wife put me through, what life put us through. That's what I'm qualified to talk about. How it worked for us. And it did. Oh, did it ever. Did it ever. It's a success story. But, oops, that's another spoiler. Thank you for listening this far. And I hope to talk to you soon about aspects of the book. See you guys.